All right, Math 2, Unit 7, Section 4. Today we're talking about angles of elevation and depression. Okay, so everything this unit, we've been talking about angles, right? And either we can use our special triangles with our 30, 60, 90 triangles to find sides, or we were able to use our trig functions, right, in order to find angles and sides. And so now this is basically putting it into word problems and how you could use it in the real world. Okay. So, on page 447, you guys have this. And let's go ahead and read it. It says the angles in the solvent are formed below the horizontal black pipe. Angles formed above and below a horizontal line have specific names. Okay. Now, your picture is better than mine, but basically right here it says, suppose a person on the ground sees a hang glider at a 38-degree angle above the horizon line. So basically right here they're saying that this angle right there is 38 degrees. Okay? That is your angle of elevation. You are looking up at this. Okay? Now there's also an angle of depression. And this, it's also 38 degrees. And if you think about those are alternate interior angles. You guys with me? Okay, so basically those angles end up being the same. Okay? All right, we're going to move on to some problems now. Okay, so turn to page 449. We'll skip over a few things. Just talk about the important stuff. Okay, so got it, problem number 2. It says, you sight a rock climber on a cliff at a 32-degree angle of elevation. Your eye level is 6 feet above the ground. That's important. And you are 1,000 feet from the base of the cliff. What is the approximate height of the rock climber from the ground? So, what do you think we would end up doing with the 6 feet? Does anybody have any idea? Yes?
Do you add it when you're done finding the rest of the height?
Yes. So we're basically going to find the answer to this problem, and once we find the answer, we're going to end up adding 6. And the reason is that you wouldn't start at the ground, right? Like when you're looking at something, I mean, I guess you could lay down, but basically they're saying that you're starting at the 6 feet mark. Okay, does that make sense what I'm saying? But we're going to find it like we're at 0, and then we just add 6 feet at the end once we find that. Okay? So it's all written out over here, and they wanted us find what the approximate height of the rock climber from the ground is. So we are trying to find the height, where the climber actually is up here. And so we have to find, if we start at 0 up to x, okay? All right, so looking at this is the angle we're looking at. What trig function would we end up using? And so in order to figure that out, we need to label the triangle. So what does x represent? Opposite. And 1,000 is adjacent. So if we write down our SOHCAHTOA, which I recommend you always write this down when we're dealing with these problems, what are we going to use? Which trig function will I use? Tangent is correct because I have O and O and A go with my T, correct? And so that is the tangent of 32 equals opposite is x over adjacent is 1,000. And then this should be fairly familiar on how we would solve it. So on this problem, how will I end up solving it? So first of all, find what the tangent of 32 is, right? And you can take out your pink sheets here and we go to the 32-degree mark, or you can take out your calculator and get it the same way. So 32, and I go over to tangent, and it's good, 0.6249. and that equals x over 1,000. And then what do I do in order to get rid of that fraction? Very good. Multiply by 1,000 to both sides. Okay, these cancel. And so in your calculator, you can put 0.6249 times 1,000. And we find that x equals 624.9. Okay, but I believe they told us to, yeah, and it says approximate height. And so I might even just round this to the nearest foot, okay? And so let's just make this 625 feet. And then we need to add 6 feet to that because they were actually 6 feet above the ground. And so our answer is 631 feet. Okay, questions? All right, problem number 3, practice problem number 3. That is just the same as what we've been doing. Okay, so we're obviously looking at our 20 degrees. Okay, I want you to do this one on your own. You want to label it, figure out the answer. Once you get the answer, raise your hand and I'm going to come around and check. So it's 100 on the diagonal. Yes, feet. Also notice on this practice problem it says round to the nearest 10.
Oh, it's 4-2? Yeah, that makes sense. Dude, that was weird. I thought we were going to
Okay, the correct answer is 34.2. Everybody that I checked got it correct. Okay, so if we set this up, x is what? Opposite, and 100 is hypotenuse. And so what trig function do we use with O and H? Sine. So we have sine of 20 equals x over 100. Sine of 20 was what? Good, 0.3420 equals x over 100. And how do I eliminate my fraction?
You're a little late.
I'm a little late.
Not you.
Multiply by 100. These cancel. And when you multiply it by 100, you can also think of this by multiplying, you move your decimal 2 places to the right. And so x equals 34.2. And that is feet, 34.2 feet. Okay, any questions on this problem? All right, we're still on page 449. Let's check out this next word problem. So you want to make sure you draw a picture to represent your problem. Okay, so a meteorologist measures the angle of elevation of a weather balloon as 41 degrees. So these are your balloons, right? So you have a meteorologist, angle of elevation. So this means I'm looking up. Okay, you have a person on the ground, they're looking up at 41 degrees. Okay. A radio signal from the balloon indicates it is 1,503 meters from its location. So if this person is looking up at this balloon right here, where do you think that 150 or 1,503 goes?
Hypotenuse.
That is correct, the hypotenuse. Okay, so again, if here is this person and here is the person looking up, so you have your balloon, the person looking up, that's saying this distance right here is the 1,503. Yes?
I think it would be on the ground because this is from the balloon is that distance from his location.
No, it's not.
So it's not.
So you're saying you think it's the person in the balloon. Either way, it's going to look like this. Is that what you're telling me? What number are you thinking that I have wrong?
I think the 1503 goes on, like, one of these.
No. So, yeah, no, the 1503 goes right here. It is this distance. And this, just so you know, if you're thinking that the 41 should be here, it doesn't really matter, but this is depression. When you're looking down, the 41 goes here. When you're looking up, the 41 goes here. But they both end up being the same because they're alternate interior angles. Okay? So, all right. They are now asking us, to the nearest meter, how high above the ground is the balloon? So they are wanting us to find the height. So here's the balloon. How far is it from the ground? Okay? All right. What am I going to do?
Label.
Label. Good. So we're looking at 41 degrees here. Okay? X is going to be my
Opposites.
and 1503 is my good. Okay, set it up, find your answer. Once you get the answer, check in your groups.
Hang on. Make sure I actually enter this in right. 186. What are we rounding to?
Nearest meter, good. So, Madison, while people are still figuring this out, I want to try to explain it to you. So, to make, or does it make sense? You're okay? So, because they're looking, he's looking at an elevation, so we know he's over here looking at the balloon. And so, it's a radio signal from the balloon to that person, and so it's that distance.
I was thinking like the one slab.
Yeah. No, and sometimes I'm wrong, so it's always good to question. It's good. Okay. All right, so what do we get? How do I write my equation? How do I write my equation? Anybody? Thank you. Sine of 41 equals. Okay. Now, what is sine of 41? Thank you. 0.6561 is correct. In order to eliminate my fraction, I'm going to multiply both sides by 1503. These cancel. When you multiply, I believe you got, Nick, 986.11. But we round to the nearest meter, so my answer is?
986. I got that.
Good. I know, but you're just talking. I'm trying to get you to be quiet. Okay. All right. Any questions? Okay. Turn to page 450. Okay, so this other one, they were talking about angle of elevation. This one, they are talking about angle of depression. Okay? So let's try to draw a picture that makes sense. So, an airplane pilot sights a life raft at a 26-degree angle of depression. Okay, so we have an airplane in the sky. You can decide how you draw this. It can go either way. And then we have a raft because they're saying that he is seeing this at an angle of depression. And so this right here is the 26 degrees that he's looking. Okay, which means that the person in the life raft, he would also see it at the same thing. If they're at the same spot, this would also be 26 degrees. These are alternate interior angles. Okay. Now it says the airplane's altitude is 3 kilometers. What is altitude? How high? Which would be the height? Is it going to be my hypotenuse?
Opposite.
No, it's going to be opposite from the 26. So this is 3 kilometers. Okay, then it says, what is the airplane's horizontal distance from the raft? So horizontal is like your right and left. It didn't say the diagonal. It didn't say that. So this is what we are trying to find right here. Okay, so setting it up, if we take the 26 degrees, 3 is what?
Opposite.
And x is? So which trig function will I end up using? Good. So tangent of 26 equals 3 over x. What is tangent of 26? Good. 0.4877 is correct. Equals 3 over x. I want to eliminate my fraction, so what do I do? I have to multiply by x this time in order to eliminate my fraction, right? So those cancel. And so I really have 0.4877x equals 3. And what would I need to do now to solve for x? Divide by 0.4877 to both sides. These cancel. And when you type that in your calculator, what do you get that x equals?
6.15.
Good, 6.15. And specifically, it's 6.15 what? Kilometers. And it did it say anything about how I should round?
No.
No. Okay, so this would be an appropriate answer. All right, number 5, it says find the value of x, round to the nearest tenth. This one says tenth of a unit. Okay, if the angle of depression, so remember depression is when you're looking down, it's up here, is 27, what's also the angle of elevation?
27.
Good. Okay, I want you guys to figure this one out. When you have the answer, raise your hand and I'll come check it.
Are you on after school? Who do you go with? She goes with you? Your mom doesn't drive you either, and it's only from kids.
And then there's people that turn on the treadmill all the way and they get on it and they sprint like
Okay.
5 seconds to get it off.
Nearest tenth, you have 1 decimal place. Okay, most of you got it. A few of you just messed up by
That is so funny.
using the wrong trig function. So you really have to be careful that you're getting the correct trig function. So looking at this one, x represents what?
Something. Opposite.
Opposite. And the 580 is your hypotenuse. So if we look at SOHCAHTOA, we can see that we have O and H, which is with your sine. So it should have been sine 27 equals opposite, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 580. What is sine 27? Thank you. 0.4540 equals x over 580. How do I eliminate the fraction? Multiply both sides by 580. So whatever my denominator is, that's what I multiply both sides by. That cancels. When you multiply, you get 263.32 for x. But it said round to the nearest tenth. So the tenth place is right there. Okay, since 2 is smaller, my answer is 263.32. 0.3 yards. Okay, any questions? We're good? Okay, number 6. I want you guys to kind of try this on your own. Try to just draw the picture. Okay?
The Statue of Liberty?
Very good.
You want me to draw?
No. Draw a triangle, obviously. I'm thinking it's obvious. We're going to draw a triangle because that's what we've been working with, right? So just try to label the triangle. What numbers go where?
I draw my triangle backwards.
That's fine. It doesn't matter which way you draw your triangle.
What is she holding in her hand?
Oh my goodness.
Along with some other.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
I have no idea.
Okay. So let's go ahead and start reading. A tourist looks out from the crown at the Statue of Liberty approximately 250 feet above the ground. So where do you think the 250 is going to go?
At the end. Oh, wait. Where's it gonna go?
So this is like your Statue of Liberty. This person is in here, and they're saying that she's 250 feet from the ground.
So right there.
So right here, okay? So this is 250 feet. Anytime they're talking about height, Israel, you getting this? Anytime they're talking about height, you're using your up and down line, right? Okay? So then we go on to read. It says the tourist sees a ship coming from the harbor and measures the angle of depression at 18. So here it is, okay? This is where the ship is, okay? So the angle of depression that she sees right there is 18. So that means that the angle of elevation from that little ship or whatever is also going to be what? 18. And again, what do we call those? They're alternate interior angles. Okay? So it says, find the distance from the base of the statue to the ship to the nearest foot. So am I finding the hypotenuse? No.
We're finding
The base part, right? So the bottom of the statue to that ship. Okay? From here to here, right? So that's my X. All right. So based on this angle right here, what is 250? Opposite. And what is X? Adjacent. Very good. And so therefore I'm going to use tangent. Very good. So this is tan or tangent of 18 equals, good, 250 over X. What's tangent of 18? Good. 0.3249 is correct. Equals 250 over X. How do I eliminate the fraction? Good. That cancels. So I have 0.3249x equals 250. And how will I end up getting x by itself? Good. Divide by 0.3249 to both sides. And what do we get? We're going to round to the nearest foot. Good. 769 feet is the correct answer. Any questions? Okay. I'm going to stop there then.